This week, algorithms that sort us, teachers who translate, and the question of who controls what we know. Let's dig into this week's Yoga Filter. I'm with Joel Hall. Welcome to Yoga Filter. We spent this week thinking about information. Who controls it? Who translates it? And what happens when the systems meant to organize our lives start sorting us instead? The Digital Poorhouse maps how algorithms don't eliminate human bias. They just move it somewhere where we can't see it, like automated systems that set the price and then predict and then exclude with a precision that would make any historical gatekeeper jealous. This is a new mechanism, but the shape is old. We shift gears though and turn to one of my favorite, offers a different kind of model. In his ridiculous question mark suit, he is out there like helping others get government money by translating government bureaucracy paperwork into stuff regular people can read. I think yoga teachers do the same thing. It's like standing between a student and a practice that's been deliberately mystified, perhaps by people throwing around Sanskrit terms and different lineage ideas without having the goods to really tell you what it is in a way that you can understand. It's just someone wanting you to know that you should bend the knee. Actually, my impulse to demystify showed up this week by releasing my first Tech Support Tuesday, which is the Ashtanga Yoga Tech Support questions that I'm going to answer, where I dig through Reddit. I found 5 last week to answer, and they're all about Ashtanga yoga, yoga in general. But I answer them honestly. They were ones that I thought were interesting. And the article that I read about run clubs and real life meetups people are going to get out of the logarithms, well, they categorize 8 different ways and organizations that are doing real life stuff. And I was happy to see that the yoga club did all 8. Brings us to another point this week when memory, scientists have been able to now delete memories from mice. It's true. I can't help but think of how I was impacted by the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and the way that I've been able to grow from all of the suffering. Like, I know what we're supposed to do, transform our suffering into peace. What happens if you delete the suffering? I don't know. Joyce Carol Oates' beautiful Where Are You Going? Where Have You Been? Which was a letter to Bob Dylan. It looks at this young woman who is on the precipice of womanhood, of getting to know herself as a teenager, and how she's bifurcated, split between young her and current her, and creepiness of Arnold Friend, this character in it. Compelling. And I think that there's a lot to find in there. Go check that one out too. You see the thread, right? All week, the same questions keep surfacing. Who decides what you get to know, what you get to remember, or what you get to become? Okay, let's dig in. Where are you going? Where have you been? A reading. Connie's 15, suburban, and already fluent in the art of self division. One version of herself for the house, one for the world outside it. Her mother sees the home version and kind of finds her lacking. The outside version, the one that moves through malls and drive-ins with confidence, that one she keeps to herself. The split feels like survival. It is actually a trap. One Sunday, the family clears out and she's alone with the radio, and a gold jalopy pulls in. The driver calls himself Arnold Friend. He's wearing the full costume, jeans, boots. He's got the right slang, the right references, but none of it sits right on him. He's older than he's pretending to be. Like that meme, the one, hey there, kids. He knows her name, her friends, and exactly where her family went. He's got this sidekick, Ellie, that sits in the car the whole time with the radio going. The music doesn't stop, and Arnold wants her to come for a ride. The longer it goes on, the clearer it becomes that the normal moves, run, call for help, say no and mean it, they aren't available to her. The story ends when she walks out the door towards him. It's never really tells you what the walk is, whether it's a surrender, whether it's a trance. You don't even know if it's really something she chose. That ambiguity is the point. Here's what I keep coming back to. It's that Arnold Friend is wearing a costume and the costume almost works. It's not that he's some sort of horror movie monster in so much that he is something like the Ashtanga authorization sequence. The hierarchy presents itself as a lineage, ancient, earned, transmitted, teacher to student. It goes across generations. I know there is something real in that. I participate in it. But what it actually runs on functionally is proximity to Mysore, stamps of approval from people who got their stamps of other people's approval, and so forth and so on. And it forms a social economy where legitimacy flows downhill from a small number of sources. There becomes a clout structure that wears a tradition costume. I feel like once you see it, you can't unsee it. Both Connies. After a decade more building the yoga club as like a genuine community space, affordable, inclusive, structured around student autonomy rather than dependence, while also existing in a world that wants to measure that work by credentials and via relationships that I don't particularly trust. I have the authorization. I did all the things. I find the split exhausting. And more than that, I think it's dishonest to bifurcate the realities of the situation from my moral code. I've built my pedagogy on honesty being non negotiable to the best of one's ability, but not above harming. The Arnold Friend move is always the same. He makes you feel known. The structure flatters you with recognition, and it implies you're one of the real ones, almost in the circle. That feeling of being seen is load bearing. It's what keeps people oriented towards the approval of a center that doesn't actually serve them. But I think what Oates gives you and what I find genuinely useful is that that radio in the car never stops. Ellie's got it on in the car. Connie had it on before Arnold Friend showed up. The music isn't his, he uses it. The practice is the same. I'm not walking away from Ashtanga. The sequence, the breath, the count and method, the 15 years of intelligence that I've accumulated via working in the system. That's not Arnold Friend's gig. He just showed up in the driveway and acted like it was. Walking out the door, it's not destruction. It might be the first honest move you make in a long time. Connie, I grew up in small town America, the kind of place where you knew the person behind the counter at the hardware store and bought your milk from someone whose name you could actually remember. I don't mean to romanticize it. It just was how it was, and that's how commerce worked there. Exchanged monies for goods. That shouldn't be so radical, but nobody cared about your income level, and they certainly weren't quietly adjusting the price of things on the aisle because of the kind of phone that you carried or how long you lingered in the dairy aisle. And it's weird, but that world is vanishing. Not because people stopped wanting it. Certainly, I don't think anyone wants surveillance capitalism, but because a different architecture of exchange has been built on top of it. One that watches, sorts, predicts, and prices with a precision that would make any historical caste enforcer envious. And over on michaeljoelhall.com, I present an essay about this architecture. It draws on the work of scholars who have been mapping it for years. Better thinkers, Shoshana Zuboff, Ruha Benjamin, Kathy O'Neill, Virginia Eubanks, and a bunch of others. Their insights to something I think we're collectively experiencing but failing to name. And it's the emergence of a digital caste system. Not caste in the sense of explicit hereditary ranking, but caste as a structural logic, a way of sorting people into categories that determine access, opportunity, and maybe dignity too. It ends up getting enforced not by traditions, but by code, by a logarithm. This mechanism is new, but the shape is old. A recent article outlined 8 ways that people are making friends without social media in 2026. You can check out the article in the link, but for now, you can understand that there are running clubs, there are now friendship apps, there are book clubs, phone free events in Washington, D.C., just meet up dinners with strangers on Meetup. When I read the article, I realized that the yoga club does all 8 of the things that people seem to be looking for. We're the running club, except that we move slower and sometimes fall over. The book club, except that we read philosophy instead of fiction. And generally, we're a phone-free event. It's hard to scroll when you're doing Down Dog. It's been a long winter, but we're even sometimes the social event for would-be strangers who show up and become friends because we see each other's faces outside of the yoga room. We're the niche meetup for people who want to talk about Dharma without anyone rolling their eyes. The article said that 21% of Americans are living with serious loneliness right now. 73% think that technology is part of that reason. I stopped engaging with social media, and I'm not the only one. People are logging off and looking for something a lot more real. I guess something that requires showing up is important, and something that makes you sweat a little is good. Something that makes you feel a little less alone. Forbes calls what's happening in these running clubs incidental intimacy. You're doing something together side by side, and connection happens without forcing it. You don't have to perform. You just show up and move. I think that's embodiment. Like, that's what happens when we practice together. The room is warm, everyone's breathing, and someone wobbles at a pose, and we all enjoy the vibe. You're not needing to be interesting. You don't need to be clever. You're just there breathing in your body next to other bodies doing the same thing. And yeah, yoga classes have been phone free by design, and I like it that way. There are just so many reasons. The practice demands attention, and in giving it, you get something back. After class, we talk. We do get coffee. We go out for tea. We show up. People do things when I'm not around. Cool. We certainly don't see each other when we are all gussied up all that often, but that means that we're not curated. We're just being us. Loneliness is real, and connection is the antidote. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is to just show up, put your phone down, and breathe with strangers until they're not strangers anymore. I love the yoga club, and it isn't trying to solve the loneliness crisis, but maybe in our small corner of the world, we're doing what the research says works, creating spaces where people can connect without performing, where they can feel a sense of belonging without pretending. And over time, that leads to them remembering what it feels like to be seen. So we can now delete memories in mice, not just weaken them, delete them. Scientists at Boston University can zap specific brain cells with light, and then it just makes a traumatic memory disappear. The mouse forgets it was ever afraid. But here's the catch. 80% of humans say that they would not want the ability to eternal sunshine of a spotless mind themselves, not even for their worst memories. Why not? Because memories, they're not fixed. They're not files in a cabinet. Every time you remember something, you change it. You like open it up, you rewrite it. This happens during a window called reconsolidate. A few hours when memories are soft, pliable. Researcher Steve Ramirez can turn a traumatic memory neutral by activating a positive one at the same time. He can implant false memories. He can make these mice forget fear entirely. But even he's not sure if the memory is really gone or just buried. Here's what he learned the hard way. After his friend died, numbing the pain didn't work. What worked was acceptance, letting the memory exist without letting it destroy him. The yogis had a word for this, samskaras, like these mental grooves, impressions that were left by our experiences. The yogis would say that these samskaras aren't permanent, but you can wear them deeper through repetition, but you can also smooth them over with practice. The difference, you didn't have to genetically engineer a mouse to figure it out. Avidya, ignorance, misperception. It isn't about forgetting. It's about seeing clearly. The goal of this life and practices isn't to erase difficult memories. It's to change our relationship to them, to be able to view them in a manner that doesn't cause harm, to stop letting it just run the show. I think Ramirez says it well. We can turn the volume down on the negative emotional components while leaving the memory intact. Turn the volume down, not off. Because the memory itself might be necessary for justice, for growth, for understanding who you've become. That's not something you want to delete. That'll probably take care of itself. And bearing witness to that, that's practice. That's working with impermanence, letting memories soften, loosening the grip, making space for something new. If this resonates, I've got study guides on Ashtanga tech that go way deeper, understanding samskara, those grooves that we wear in the mind. If you take the course, you'll learn how these impressions form and how practice changes them. Ignorance, the stuff that we can't see clearly. That's a great study guide and course on breaking down misperception and what it means to actually see what's in front of you. There's a nice one on the practice of acceptance too. The ability to hold all this stuff without breaking. How to work with real real pain, instead of numbing it or running from it. And of course, stuff on impermanence. Why nothing stays the same. The fundamental truth. Even our memories aren't fixed. Anywho, check out the links in the bio and whatnot.